So, welcome to the first ever episode of Tenacity Talks. We are here with Albert, Albert Liu.
Yo, what's up?
So, as most of us know, Albert is a prodigy at Smash Melee. So Albert, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I wouldn't say I'm a prodigy, but so I started playing Melee when I was like 8 or 9 years old, but I didn't go to tournaments. I just played with my brother until maybe like 10 years old. And he was like a big break the targets player. It's another mode inside of Melee. And so he got really technical and learned how to do a lot of technical things, and he taught me, and we just played together. And then we kind of quit and only played in the summers. And then when I was 16, I went to my first tournament, which I won. It wasn't a very stacked tournament, but I won it because like I'd been playing for so long, obviously.
hmm
Um, and then from there, I just continued to progress until to where I am today.
So, you'd say that your brother is kind of the person that motivated you to just keep forward and keep pushing with Melee?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's 7 years older than me,
hmm
so he was the one that um, got me to play. He's the one that helped me practice getting better whenever we don't have like all the things that we have today. Like today we have so many ways to get better, like Slippy, which is online melee, but back then we didn't have that, so I just played my brother all day.
Okay. Um, so before Smash, right? Back in the day, or I can't even say back in the day because you've just been always doing it. What are some other hobbies that you had besides Smash?
I mean, right now, or would you say right
Or,
now,
or
back in the
I
day?
would say just like back in the day, before you really got into it as you are right now.
Mm. So I've always loved biking, so I've been biking a lot, like my whole life, and um, sometimes I'll just like go out in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. and bike. One time
hmm
I biked like 5 hours straight,
Dude, what?
like from one place to the other. So I biked from, I don't know if you know Austin area at all. I don't think you do, but
Yeah.
there's like San Marcos all the way to like above Round Rock, which is like
hmm
a 5 hour bike. And I just did that and then went back. So I do stuff like that. Um, I love obviously playing piano,
hmm
uh, big into music, piano and cello. I played cello through high school.
Piano and cello. All right, nice.
Yeah. And then um, when I was in high school, I dabbled in making music as well, but I didn't really get too far. And then right now, I'm starting to make more music.
So, what kind of music? Like some FL Studio type beats, or like
I mean, yeah, FL Studio type beats, but just in general, very diverse stuff. I don't know if anyone knows who Epic High is, but they influence a lot of the type of music I want to make.
Okay, all right. Um, what's like that genre though?
It's like a, it's a mix of like just like m- instrumental R&B
Okay,
with also like rap, like
okay.
really mellow rap. I don't know.
So, do you sing at all?
No, no, no. I'm not a singer.
Oh, you just play the
I would get other
instruments.
people to, yeah, I just play
Okay,
instruments and make
okay.
music, but that's about it.
Um, and I'm assuming you were in like an orchestral type of thing.
I was, yeah, I played orchestra from fifth till 12th grade, and my orchestra program was really good. We won state a couple times, and then
Damn.
one time we went to Carnegie Hall, which is an awesome experience.
Holy shit. That's insane actually. Okay.
Yeah, it was super awesome. I mean, I got carried, but
You got carried, bro.
I got carried,
Oh
but
my
I'll
goodness.
take it.
I mean, looking at that sheet music behind you, like you seem like you know what you're doing, you know? So,
It's for show, dude. I suck.
um I mean, hey man, you're just too humble out here. You know, you beat Hungrybox, right? And I called you a Smash prodigy. You don't want to accept that, but hey man, being humble is a good quality to have. So
I appreciate it.
yeah. Um. So anyway, just talking about a bit more of your past, right? When your friends and family first discovered, um, well, I'm not. I'm just kind of assuming. Do they know about your Smash career at all? Your friends or close family or whatever.
Yeah, it's actually so I have a lot to say about that. So like at first when I started competing, the only people that knew were my like family and like I'm Asian, so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Asian parents don't like their kids doing stuff like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So they didn't really like it. Even when I brought home money, they're like, "Oh, you're wasting your time. You're not actually gonna make money, or you're not gonna do well with it." Which I mean, they still think that, and they can still think that, but they
Mm-hmm.
accept it at this point. Um, And then my friends, so I have like Smash friends, and then I have like real life friends. It's
Mm.
always like there's it's always separate, I separate them completely. And my like Smash friends, obviously they know I play Smash. Then my real friends, they never knew I really played Smash that much. They knew like I did, but they didn't really know much until I beat Hungrybox.
Mm.
And when I beat Hungrybox, it was really weird. It was like my Smash and my real life all converged together. And they were messaging me because somehow they had heard from like a couple people, and like literally my entire like friend groups that weren't supposed to know about my Smash stuff started
Yeah.
messaging me about it. I was like, what the heck? What's going on?
I mean, that must have been a crazy experience. Beating Hungrybox, man. Just talk me through like the emotions, how you felt during that time, um, and the process that you took to prepare for that moment.
So I feel like my recount of this is not as glitz and glamour as people want it to be, because when I played Hungrybox, I was just really focused. I had nothing to lose, so I just played. Um, and then afterwards, I was happy for sure, and I was really ecstatic. But like everyone else was happy for me. Everyone seemed like
Yeah.
happier for me than I was happy, right? Like they're just like going off for me, and that was what made me happy. Is everyone was cheering me on. Not really the fact that I beat Hungrybox as much,
Mm.
because beating Hungrybox is cool and all, but like when you have aspirations to be better, beating him once is not something that you really cheer that much.
Mm.
It's cool like that you did it, but you'd want to do it consistently. And not only that, like he's just one person. You have to do it consistently with all the players, right?
Yeah.
And so I still can't do that, and I couldn't do it back then. And so yeah, I beat him, but like I always tell people like it was sort of a fluke a little. And like I think the crowd on my side helped me a lot, especially because it was in Texas.
Mm.
I'm not going to take away completely from my win. I think I did play really well, and I think that it wasn't completely a fluke. Like I played the matchup extremely well, and I pressured him a lot, but um, it's about doing it consistently, and so I just work a lot to try to make that consistent. And at this point, I'm not there yet, but I hope to be one day.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in my eyes, you're kind of the goat. You know, like he's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was ranked, or he is ranked number one Smash Melee player of all time, pretty much, right?
He's up there, maybe top three. Like he's contested for two. Armada's probably the goat.
Uh huh.
Um, but it's like Mango, Armada, and Hungrybox are the top three for sure. And he had been number one for the last like 2.5 or 2 years.
Yeah. I
And he
mean,
basically didn't lose to anyone else except for the top like 5, 6 players. So that's why it was a big deal.
the fact that you overcame that, the fact that you were able to beat him, that's insane. Honestly, it really is insane. Um, and if I was in your position, right? I mean, maybe just because of my loud personality, but I feel like I wouldn't let that down for a second, man. For a second, I would
Well,
not
here's
let
the
that
thing,
down.
man. Here's the thing. That thing was what? A year, more than a year and like 3 months ago or
Uh
four
huh.
months ago. So, you know, like I did for the most part for a while, for like a month or two, I for sure like was going on about it for sure. And I was like, wow, this is like such a good win, whatever. But at this point, it's been a year and like 3 months. I have to kind of move on and just improve instead of looking at like what I did before. Because if I just look at my past accomplishments, like that's not gonna help me improve.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess you could say you're still hungry, you know. Um, but back to what we were saying about how your friends and family kind of converged and um, they started to know about your melee career, right?
hmm
Um, what do you think about the parents that say or that always bring up like a career versus a hobby? What do you think about that controversy? Just because if you think about it, right? Um, you can make a career out of anything pretty much today, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
okay, this is what I'll say. I think I'm obviously for people wanting to be in esports. I'm obviously for people wanting to try. But like, let's say I have kids, I would be realistic with them about
mhm, mhm,
what it takes, like what are the risks, and then let them make a decision from there. Because even in melee, right? Um, so right now I work a full-time job, even
mhm,
though I'm sponsored on Tenacity, which is
mhm,
awesome, and I play tournaments. I have a full-time job because like it doesn't pay nearly enough
Yeah, yeah.
to, and this is true of everyone but like 6 people in all of Melee, right? Everyone else needs a full-time job. Otherwise, they're just sitting there making like sub 20K a year.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's just like, I don't know. I have to be realistic with people about how much money they're gonna make if they can do it, and then what type of genre they're trying to go into. Like if you're playing League of Legends, you're a top League of Legends player, you can be like a top 200 League of Legends player and still make 50, 100K a year. That's
Mhm.
fine. In
Mhm.
Melee, that's not the case, right? So it all depends, right?
Yeah, I can see that. But so speaking about Melee and the numbers, right? How do you feel about the current state of it? And also in terms of choosing Melee or Ultimate, why didn't you want to go towards Ultimate if that's the case with the Melee?
Okay, so these questions kind of go together. So, firstly, maybe a year in December of whenever Smash Ultimate came out, whatever that time was, um, I considered just switching from Melee to Ultimate, just quitting Melee completely, and then just playing only Ultimate. And I tried that for a while. I made like top 10 Austin, but I realized that Ultimate was just not for me.
Mhm.
Ultimate, I don't know what is the best comparison, but it's like the skill cap is a lot lower, um, and it's just a lot less uh, satisfying of a game for me. It's like a lot less rewarding for me
Mhm.
because there's a lot less mechanics. There's a lot more like RNG elements. There's a lot the gameplay is a little more stale. And some people like the way that's played. Some people like that, but for me it's not. It's just not what I want to do. I want to be able to always be able to improve something at all times and
Mhm.
always be able to just keep reaching higher and higher and higher. And sometimes in Ultimate that doesn't seem possible. You obviously can. And, the top players are top players for a reason, but um, it's just it's such a grueling game to play because you don't always feel like you're in control. In Melee, if you lose, you know you lost. Like you
Mhm.
know exactly why you lost. You can break it down. You can whatever. Um, and what was the first part of your question of that again?
So pretty much, I asked, what do you think about the scene, the Melee scene,
Oh, right.
in
Right.
general?
And so the reason I can continue going about Melee is because Melee is still such a thriving scene. Especially with Slippy, which is online Melee, we can now play online Melee basically lagless.
Mhm.
And when I mean lagless, I truly mean it. Like even in, let's say you're playing Call of Duty, there's still some lag. There's still interp,
Yeah, yeah.
but in Melee right now, there's just like straight up no lag. Um, and so it's amazing. There's a lot of it's called rollback, and so it's like a
Mhm.
certain type of code that you use that you can't always implement everywhere. And so Melee is continuing to grow, and the viewership especially is still really really high. And after Corona happens, there's still going to be quite a bit of money and everything. So I feel very motivated to keep playing it, and obviously to me it's the best game in the world.
Mhm.
Um, so I have no reason to stop right now.
Yeah, like I mean, given the time that it was released, right, and seeing how the community has thrived from like back then, obviously till now, it's kind of insane.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, obviously, right? My information is not clear on this, but Ultimate does have a bigger scene than Melee at this point, right?
That's an interesting question. I would say entrance wise, it has a bigger scene because it's easier to get into, so more people
Mhm.
enter tournaments. I would say casual players wise, by far more players, not even close.
Mhm.
But competitive wise, like or competitive viewership wise, Melee seems to eke out a lot of times. Just pure viewership, let's say on Twitch.
Mhm.
A lot of times it's either like kind of even or like Melee's bigger, and especially on the bigger top 8 tournaments or whatever, like Genesis and whatever,
Mhm.
Melee seems to be bigger. So it's depending on what you're kind of putting the metrics on.
Oh,
But I
okay.
would say overall, Ultimate like has more stuff in it. More people, more casuals play it by far. Like millions and millions play. In Melee, it's not millions and millions of people playing
Mhm.
casually.
I mean, I just think that's just because if you look at all the big name pros, right, like Armada, Mango, Hungrybox, all the people that you mentioned, they're still kind
Hmm.
of playing Melee. So I feel
Yep.
like these big name personalities are pretty much the only reason why like so many people are motivated to play melee still. Um, and in terms of
Uh,
ultimate, right?
I would say I would say the only part of that is I would say is because they encourage competition. So like as long as melee is competitive, people are
Mm-hmm.
willing to play because it's such an amazing game that you can keep getting better that people will play. So like people like Mango, Armada retired, but people
Mm-hmm.
like Mango, people like Zane. These guys, if you keep them in the game, they make other people feel like, hey, I need to like get better every day to catch up to them. And so that's what drives it. But
Mm-hmm.
I still think the scene could survive without them. We just need motivated people to want to play, and I think we do have that. Melee's like, people are very motivated in Melee all the time, so we always get people that are trying to reach the top.
I mean, you're kind of living proof of the next generation of what could be.
I guess so, maybe. I have to put in a lot more work, but yeah,
A
maybe so.
lot of work, a lot of dedication,
Hmm.
100%. Same thing with Call of Duty. I mean, the thing is that I want to relate this conversation a lot more to Melee, but my knowledge in Melee and like just Smash in general is so limited that I have
Hmm.
to relate everything to Call of Duty.
No, it's perfectly fine. I think a lot of them are the same, so you can definitely do that.
Yeah, I just think esports in general kind of have the same driving factor. You have the guy on top all the time, right? Then you
Yep.
have everyone else just trying to get to that top position. And I
Yep.
think with the majority of esports, like we look at esports like Smite or like other non really spoken about games, and they all have that same competitive driving factor to where they want
Hmm.
to get to the top, but they have to grind, they have to be motivated and willing, and I think
Hmm.
that's pretty much the only reason why there are some games right now that are still alive just because of that one motivational factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Melee is such an outlier to me from all that though, because I think the people that play Melee realize just how great it is. There's a similar thing in like Korea for like StarCraft Brood War, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
People just realize how great this game is and how high of a skill cap there is, and how there's no other game that even comes close to it. Like when you have like Counter Strikes of the world, you have Valorant now, and you
Mhm.
have like other shooters, and you play other fighting games, and you have a billion fighting games to choose from that are they're not the same, but they're similar.
Mhm.
For Melee, there's nothing like it. Even if you go to Ultimate, it's not even it's not even remotely the same game. So, and a lot of people have tried to make clones of Melee in the past. A lot of or I guess like, yeah, third party type companies or whatever.
Yeah.
They make clones of rivals of Aether and all these other games, and they're just not the same as Melee. They try and they try to develop it with the same mechanics, and it's just not the same.
So I have a couple of friends, right, that play Brawlhalla. What do you think about Brawlhalla?
Mhm. So Brawlhalla is an interesting game. I can't speak completely into it because I haven't played it too much, but
Mhm.
that's another case of a game that kind of tried to be like Melee. They didn't completely try to be like Melee. They tried to be their own thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things that makes the game stale is they have a lot of basically in the air you can like dash a bunch of times and like just like kind of go around the air and never fall off the sides, and yeah, I don't know, you
Mhm.
like never have to really go to the ground is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
And what that does is it makes the games really, really campy. So if you watch like top level Brawlhalla, all they're doing is just like camping around like the whole game, and the game's really stale until they get an opening. And it's not. It, it's like fun. The mechanics of the game are fun. It seems fun and like everything, but the way the meta develops for it because of the mechanics, it makes it less fun. And I think that's where Melee stands apart is that even as the meta grows and it makes it more campy a little, there's still so much you can do to make it interactive that
Mhm.
no matter what, it's just still fun. And I think that's true of most of the Melee clones. They end up becoming really campy or one-dimensional in the end, whereas Melee has never been one-dimensional at all.
Mhm. And so speaking about that stale gameplay, right? Just bringing it back to Ultimate. I'm just kind of curious. What do you think are the RNG factors in that game?
Okay, so it's not necessarily RNG, but it's kind of like the game has a lot of like 50-50 or 33-33-33
Okay.
situations. And because the game is so unreactable, like there's a bunch of input lag built into the game, like a ton. And so the game is kind of unreactable a lot of times, and a lot of like the skillful elements are nullified by Nintendo to try to make it a little more casual.
Mhm.
It makes it so that you can't really like completely outskill them. Sometimes you have to outguess them, or you have to out like you just have to pick an option that you think will work and kind of condition over time, which is a different game. That's still a lot of skill. But it's not the skill. It's not the game for me because I want everything to be like very controlled, where you can control the player and do everything like that. Just continue to like whittle them down, positionally,
Mhm.
and then like I don't know. And it's just more to it in Melee. In Ultimate, I always felt like, hey, either I back air here and he spot dodges or he doesn't, and then if he spot dodges, then I get punished, and if he does, then I get punished, and it's like I hated those situations.
I mean, I think you going down the melee route. I mean, you look at yourself now. You're insane. You're incredible at the game. Um, so what are some like defining moments in your career where you were just like blown away from what you've done, or like, um, just like astonished at what you've accomplished?
Um, man, I just like the way I am is that I truly like I truly believe this. I don't think I'm that good. Like I think I'm good comparison to people, but I don't think I'm that good. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you ask me stuff like that, I'm never really satisfied with my results or what I've done because I realize like if I put in this type of work or if I was more disciplined here, I could reach a lot higher. And so I'm not really satisfied with like very much I've done. Like I'm happy with certain wins I've had. Like yeah, I'm happy about the Hungrybox win, but it's not like something that'll make me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Like, what will make me say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that was like winning a major, which only like 5 or 6 people in the world have done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very high bar for me, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it's always good to have high standards, like especially for yourself. You don't want to create an imaginary boundary to where you think you've hit the boundary already. Meanwhile, um, you're not even close to where you should be, in terms
Hmm.
of trying to be the best. Um, and so, what do you think you yourself can improve on as just like a competitive person, as a competitive player? Like, what do you think that will help? What do you think will help you just overcome that hump?
Yeah. The biggest part is okay. I always say that everyone can be a esports player or a top. Oops, I just spilled my water. Anyone can be a top like esports player in most games, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
and especially melee. I'll talk about specifically melee. The thing about melee though is that, or about anything, is that you can't be a good player until your life is in order. I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe that. Like you cannot be a top player unless the rest of your life is in order. You're sleeping well, you're eating well, you're not stressed about your family, your friends, your relationships. Um, so like I think this is true of almost everything, and so for me it's about just getting everything in my life in order to focus in on improvement. So I just moved. I have a full-time job right now that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of like getting used to because I didn't join it that long ago. It was like 3, 4 months. There's a lot of things happening in my life right now, and then obviously COVID's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's those things can be fixed if I stay disciplined, right? If I wake up every day at the same time and I eat right. Like right now, because of COVID, I haven't been eating very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all things that I can do to improve myself, and just the improvement, as you know, I can improve and work on that and focus on that if I do everything else.
Okay. So, with your busy schedule, right? You're working full time. Um,
Hmm.
what's like your practice schedule like?
Yeah, so I work from like 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, right? Um, and then I like basically after that, I have to decide. Do I want to like did I either spend my lunch while I was working out, or now that I didn't do that, do I now work out?
Mm-hmm.
Do I go hang out with my girlfriend? Do I go hang out with my friends, my social life? Do I um, cook today, or do I go order food so
Mhm.
that I don't spend as much time cooking. So all that factors in, and it factors into whether I practice immediately or I practice later.
Mhm.
The biggest, I mean, the most common way is that I probably spend after work like 3 or 4 hours doing other stuff, and then from like 8 o'clock to like 9, 10, 11, 12, one of those hours I am playing Melee. Um, and there's like I have a group of friends that we have like a server and we play Melee in there, and sometimes I'll hang in there and talk with them to be like a way to socialize as well, but also
Yeah.
to practice Melee at the same time.
So for me personally, um, I mean, I'm basically still kind of a kid, bro. I'm in college.
Hmm.
Um, College is kind of whack because college classes and studying. There's a lot of work after the classes that you kind of
Yep.
have to handle. Um, for me, balancing my life is ridiculously hard. I would probably say I sacrificed a lot of hours of sleep to try and get anywhere near as good as I am today at Call
Hmm.
of Duty, right? So
Yeah.
because I have this weird mentality. I read this thing online and it said the average like professional um puts in like 8 hours a day, right?
Hmm.
And then I was like, all right, if I want this, I need 8 hours a day. So
Hmm.
I did my work, I did everything, right? But I pretty much just sacrificed my sleep. Um,
Hmm.
I'll sleep like crazy 3 4 hours. That's pretty much it. And I mean, this is college, so that's kind of
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but what do you think about the principle of sacrificing sleep to get better, or just sacrificing anything in general? I know you said there's a balance, right?
Yeah. Here's
But
the
there,
thing, man.
yeah.
I There are two things that I guarantee are not worth it to pass up for your practice: sleep and health, like eating.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, it's been proven like for almost like a lot of scientific studies and everything, or in like studies of gamers, athletes. You're you practicing a little more is not worth your sleep, because when you sleep correctly, you get way more efficient practice.
Mhm.
And so I try my best to get the right like 7, 8 hours of sleep, because if I don't, then the practice is like you're just playing. Like sometimes you're zombie mode, you're so tired, you're just playing. You're not really improving. And that happens a lot, like if you're playing too much as well. Like
Yeah.
playing 8 hours a day, this is like playing 8 hours a day is good, but only if your 8 hours are extremely structured.
Mhm.
So for example, the Koreans, like how Koreans practice in their team houses, they play 8 hours a day, but they have coaches, they have other players, team organizers, whatever. They have all these people giving them schedules on how to practice and how to do their things for
Mhm.
8 hours. And so that's why them playing that long is worth it. But if you're not doing that, at some point you're getting super diminishing returns. And so for me, I feel like you gotta set you either gotta make set schedules of how much you play, or you gotta play less. It's one of the two, because your focus is gonna wane if you play too much.
Mhm.
And if you're missing out on sleep, you won't even have even near as much focus for as long.
Yeah, like I wish I had a team house, man. Like desperately I want a team house with like
Hmm.
or like a facility with like physical therapists and psychologists and like
Right,
that's
right.
crazy. Like esports has like evolved into an industry to where the general public sees that we or like just esports players in general, right? Esports stars in general, right?
Yeah.
They are considered athletes. Like they need the proper treatment that they need in order to perform well, right? And so
Hmm.
what do you think about that controversy? Calling an esport athlete an athlete,
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, it's all semantics. Like, I think that esports has like the mental aspect is by far like just like an athlete. Physical aspect, of course, we're not like an athlete. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
in
yeah.
the gym and stuff.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
mentally, it's the exact same process, right? We practice the same process. We think the same process. We study the same process. It's all the same. It's just that we're at a keyboard and they're like physically doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care about the semantics. Like if being called an athlete helps esports grow, then sure, I'm for it. But Otherwise, I think it's kind of useless because it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. So besides, besides going back to the Hungrybox conversation, right, and
Hmm.
like you beating him, besides Hungrybox, right, what are
Hmm.
what are some other matches that I know you said like when I ask you these questions you kind of just don't really have an answer just because you have your standards so high, but what's like a match that really stood out to you besides that Hungrybox match?
Um, I mean, I can talk about a recent one, I guess. I beat Face Roll, who's a top 15 player,
Sheesh.
maybe about a month ago. Um, and I was down 0-2, and I cleanly, or I like not cleanly, but like I reverse 3-0'd him, and
God.
every single game was a comeback. Like I was down 3 stocks to
Mm,
one game, and I came back. I was down like 2 stocks to one, I came back. I was last game I was down 2 stocks to one, I came back. So it was crazy. Like I should not have won that set, but like I just kind of refused to lose, I guess, and then I
yeah.
ended up winning, which was crazy.
That's that's insane. Making comebacks in Smash, that's just like I don't know. You have
Yeah.
one life, literally one life, versus the multiple lives that the other guy has. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in
So,
Melee, generally like the better player, like the thing about this game is you can tell a game has a high skill ceiling and a yeah, high skill ceiling when it's very consistent in the results.
mhm,
And so there's a reason that the top like 4 or 5 players in the world win everything.
mhm,
If you're the number 10 in the world, you've never won a major.
yeah,
Like, but in like other esports, like it's very possible for there to be big upsets and some team to win a major, right? But in Melee, that's just not possible. You don't get variance like that.
mhm.
So to make comebacks that are big against players that are better than you, it's like a big thing. It's either you just had a big change in mentality, you had a big like you changed something, like something has to happen, and it doesn't happen very often.
I mean, I was reading you have an article on Dexerto, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, you're kind of like the living variable. They classified you as an unranked player in, just someone in Austin, right?
Mhm.
And they they were kind of just elaborating on how you you kind of just beat the number one player. You
Mhm.
are the living variable. That's like it's kind of hard to change my mind on that because, like I said before, in my eyes, like you're the goat, dude. Like you are the greatest of all time, right? And so this is just because I also have aspirations of reaching like a professional level or
Mhm.
semi-professional level. And so you're up there. You're up there in my eyes, and you're up there in everyone's and the chat's eyes right now. So um, seeing you do that, it kind of just gives me a motivation. Although we're entirely different universes of esports, right? I play FPS, you play Smash, completely different. Nothing is the same about it, pretty much, besides just the mentality aspect.
Mhm.
You are just like the motivation. Um, and so for kids or like just people in general looking to um, reach that status and reach that skill level, what do you have to say and what's your practice regimen like so we could all try and emulate to do something like you've done?
Um, so to kids that want to be good, I would just say that you need to have a mindset of number one, trying to be the best, and number two, that it's not always like you always have to do the hard work to get the results. And so a lot of people just want to play, and I'll say this about my practice regimen too. It's kind of the same thing. A lot of people just want to play. Like a lot of melee players, they just play like 8 hours a day. They just keep playing until they're done, and they do that every day. And they just stay the same level their whole life. Like
Mm-hmm.
they go to tournaments and they win like 2 matches and they lose. And you see so many of these people. And then you continue go up the chain of better and better players, and then you still see it there. They're like number 80 in the world, and they just play, 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 and they stay number 80 in the world forever. Um, and so when you play, you have to always be thinking actively about what you can change, what you did wrong, and being diligent about like noting it and changing it. Because otherwise, if you just keep playing, you never change these habits, and you're like, ah, but it's like not as fun to change that. It's like it's
Mhm.
boring to do analysis. And yeah, it's really boring to do analysis, but that's what you have to do to get better, no matter what game you play.
Mhm.
And for
So,
my training regimen, oh, sorry to cut
oh
you off.
yeah, no, you're good. Just finish what you're gonna say because I have a follow up question.
Yeah, yeah. So my training regimen, it's different from every game, but all I say, and it differs for every character and every player as well. All I say is that you need to make a schedule about how you practice, and how that is for you, it depends, and you can tweak it as you get better at knowing what you need to work on. And that's part of the process of becoming a better player, right? You need to
Mhm.
know how to tweak these processes because they're not always going to be the same. How you practice is not always going to be the same. Um, and just, but the biggest part is just to be consistent and to make schedules. So, for example, I'm going to spend every day at the beginning of my practice doing this one tech skill
Mhm.
every single day, no matter what. And stuff like that really goes a long way to make you really consistent and better at your craft.
Okay, so the follow up question was you're talking about analyzing, right? Analyzing gameplay and stuff. So for Call of Duty, um, we pretty much take professional player VOD scrims and stuff, and we break down their positioning, what they're doing, where we need to be, and how just to play the map or game mode right. So it's kind of confusing to me in Smash. What do you look for when you're conducting um, an analyzation of gameplay?
Oh, there's so much, man. So, I mean, first you can look at the obvious stuff, like what am I messing up? Like there's certain inputs. If I'm messing that up, let me analyze that. Oh, I messed it up like a billion times. Let me work on that, right? That's like the easy part. the
Mm-hmm.
the harder parts are like, man, like what type of habits do I have? Am I, whenever he does this to me, whenever he like runs at me, what is my reaction? What is my response? Oh, it seems like I always run away, or I always do one dash back into
Mm-hmm.
dash forward. Instead of, maybe next I'll do one dash back into another dash back into a dash forward. Right? Like it's just very micro situations everywhere. You just kind of analyze like what are you doing? And then on top of that, you get to also analyze what in the matchup in general you should be doing better. It's like, okay, objectively, this is good in this situation. I'm not doing that. Let me analyze like, or let me analyze like what is the best option in this situation. So there's a lot to look at from yourself to the game itself and to your opponent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, analyzation in a lot of esports is equally as important. Like I said, we're talking about Call of Duty here. Um, you actually can emulate the gameplay of the person you're versing.
Hmm.
And if they beat you, right, you may as well learn from the guy that beat you. So, um, for example, right, for the longest time, I'm not sure if you know who Scump is or Scumpy, but
Nah.
he is a professional Call of Duty player, and I followed him for so long. And watching and analyzing his gameplay for so long, I've come to adopt his play style. He's
Hmm.
highly aggressive, running around everywhere, just running and gunning. Um, so how would you describe your own play style in terms of like what adjective would you use to describe your play style?
Have you ever watched it? Do you watch anime?
Yeah, of course.
You ever watched Prince of Tennis?
Oh no, I have not.
Okay, I don't know if there's basically there's this character that just copies everyone's moves,
Hmm.
and then he can copy every single person's moves, and then that's his play style. So like honestly, my play style is basically that. I've done a lot of just taking gameplay and taking ideas from like a billion different Falcos, billion different people, and trying to put
Hmm.
it into my own game. Um, and then obviously I have certain stuff that only I do, or that's my unique to me. But like honestly, like why? The thing is, why work harder to learn the game when other people already did it for you,
Yeah.
right? So I take a lot of gameplay from a lot of different people. Now, when I run to the situation where for like unseen territory where I don't know what to do here and no one knows what to do there, then I have to start thinking for myself and analyzing what to do.
Hmm.
But for the most part, a lot of my game, like from the ground up, has always been built from like what other people do, just looking at what they do and why they did that. The
Hmm.
biggest part is why, right? Like I take what they do and then understand why they do it and what's good about it and when I should do it, and then that's kind of how I've built every part of my game.
So obviously with like all the analyzation and pretty much your entire career, right? There has to be a selection process. So how did you come to like choose Falco as your main? You know, speaking about Falco, because you brought him up before. Um, how did you end up deciding? Yeah, this is the guy that I'm gonna beat Hungrybox with.
Uh, so Falco, I mean, Falco has always been my main for the most part. Like when I was like really little, I played other people, but it was basically my brother played Fox, so I played Falco. That was basically it. But as time went on, I realized that Falco just was the most fun character for me in general. It's never been about, oh, I'm gonna switch this character to play to be better at this. Like Falco's a good enough character where I don't need to worry about that. Like he's like a
Mm-hmm.
top 5 or 6 character, at least top 6, at least top 5 probably, somewhere in the top 4 maybe, whatever people's opinions are. And he's good enough where I don't have to worry about, oh, like I can't play him for against this guy. I can't
Mm-hmm.
play him against this character. So I just play whoever I think's fun. For everything that he does, he's the most fun character in the game for me by far. He's really technical. He controls the neutral in ways that other characters can't. He like has really creative combos in my opinion. I just like everything about him, and you know, I think there's a reason a lot of people like playing him as well.
Mm-hmm. So you listed, or you just said that he's like top 5 or 6, right? Who,
Yeah.
in your opinion, is like top 3 characters to play for melee?
Okay, so the top three for sure is Puff, Marth, and Fox, some order. I think
Mm-hmm.
most top play melee players agree with that. Um, for me, my super fire take or spicy
Mm-hmm.
take is that Fox is fourth and Cheek's in the top three, but you won't get many people agreeing with that, and maybe I will change my opinion on that pretty soon as well. But generally, melee players, top melee players agree. It's some order of Puff, uh, Marth, and Fox. There are some people that think okay, Falco's in that top three too. I personally don't think so, and a lot of other top players don't think so. But there are a select few that really believe in him.
So I know you said he's fun, right? And I agree.
Yeah.
Like when you play, right, you're supposed to have fun. That's the whole point of really just involving yourself in esports, because
Hmm.
you have so much fun that you just want to get good at, like, want to be better at it, and then have even more fun.
Hmm.
But have you ever thought about transitioning yourself to that kind of to those kind of I don't want to say champs, but characters?
Nope.
Not at all. Not once.
No. Okay. So if they were three characters that significantly, like, were just so significantly better, then maybe I would consider it.
Mhm.
But the first or second best player in the world right now, Mango, he plays Falco, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like you can't be the best player in the world with this character. So it's like, why would I change my character when I enjoy him the most? I'm the most motivated, and he can definitely do it. Like, and not just he can maybe do it. Like, he definitely can do it, right? There's
Mhm.
some characters, like say you played Ice Climbers, like they're like maybe like seventh or eighth best in the game or something.
Mhm.
You know, okay, maybe at that point you start thinking about maybe I should switch if I want to truly be the best. Maybe it's time to switch, but it's been shown and proven that Falcon can do it. So like, why would I switch?
Mhm. Um, I mean that's the thing though. Like for Call of Duty, right? You kind of have to be like a slave to the meta. Um,
Hmm.
if you're not using the best, most overpowered gun, you're
Yeah.
kind of just putting yourself in a position where you're not gonna get anywhere good, like near good.
Hmm.
Um, and
But
so
here's the thing, real quick. Like for Call of Duty, these guns or whatever, they're set. Like the developers made them, and then when the meta changes from it's like the developers change. Melee
yeah,
never
yeah.
gets patched, right? So the only thing that continually changes the game is how we play the game.
Mhm.
So for example, like Sheik used to be by far the best character in the game. Now Sheik is considered like fourth or something, right? And this is just over time the best player. Like Fox was considered the best character guaranteed for like
Mhm.
4 or 5 years. And now it's like maybe Puff, and a lot of people like Marth now, and they were never in the conversation. Marth was in the conversation in like 2007.
Yeah.
So the meta changes based on what we learn and how we play in melee, and I think that's the great thing. Is like no one is playing this game even close to optimally. No one is
Mm.
even close to it. And so you never know that in like 5 years, Sheik is now the best character again. So like you can never be like, oh, this is like the character to be because the meta's just gonna change, and then it's not the best character anymore because of the way people play. So you just stick with your character and continue to develop the meta over time.
So pretty much, right? You're telling me that the meta kind of, well, not meta, but like the the best characters really depend on how people play them, and people just want to emulate that playstyle pretty much.
Yeah, basically. So you the best characters come from like a lot of things. Like we decide that the risk rewards for them are better, or like in tournament it's more risky to do this, or it's more consistent to play this character. We have all these different ways that we try to determine who's the best character.
Hmm.
And but those all get mixed up when you learn something new. Like let's say in the past we think Marth, when he grabs a character, he'll guarantee get like 80%. But now we've figured out this new tech that if you do this type of slight DI or this type of little tech, now like he only gets like a maximum of 40%. Well, now
Hmm.
like everything changes because what you thought before as like this huge punish from such a small mistake is like not as bad anymore. So, it's always changing. You can develop the things, you can always develop new things to continue to make it change, and these ideas like are never the same. They can always be kind of they're always like tentative because something new could be found any day.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because, like how you said, it's never patched, characters never change, right?
Nope.
How how limitless, I guess you could say, are the possibilities to where you could really change the meta, you know? Um, how are you able to create new things with things that don't get changed, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, this game is insanely limitless. Like, I mean, there's obviously a limit. It's a game. There's
Yeah, yeah,
code and
yeah,
everything,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
I'm saying like this game has been out for what, 20 years, 20 something years, right? Or maybe it is 20 years now, and we've been competitive in it since like 2006 or something. We've been playing every year, and we keep changing the meta every year. Like last year was not the same as this year, and it's still changing. And like as I keep playing, even in my friendlies, like or with my friends, like the other day, like I learn things new all the time. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, this is crazy. I never knew about that. I never knew about this. Like that changes how I view this. And so there's just so much to this game. Like I said, the skill ceiling is so high.
Hmm.
It's insanely high. So there's no point in the next like 5, 10 years we're gonna be like, we can't. The meta is the same now.
Hmm.
It's just not gonna happen because the game is so complex.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I understand that. It's just because like I said, I'm a slave to the meta change and to the
Hmm.
developers, and so I'm literally in the palms of the developers of the game. So a game like Melee is super interesting to me. Doesn't get patched, you know, it doesn't change.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, you're telling me that the the opportunities are literally limitless with every character, you know.
Yeah. So not every character, maybe like a solid 10 characters is limitless, but the thing is like that's just a testament to the game, right? Like this isn't true of every game.
Hmm.
Let's say in I don't know, like what's another game? Freaking I don't know. I don't want to flame any games, but um, I was looking through games like I shouldn't flame that. I shouldn't flame that. But there's other games, let's just say, that this isn't possible. After 20 years, you're just gonna start seeing the same gameplay, game style for like
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
for a while. For Melee, that's not the case. So we have the luxury of it just being so complex that it keeps changing, right?
Hmm.
Um, oh, I know a great example actually that is like Melee. So like, do you ever play chess?
Yeah, I played chess before.
Okay, so chess, like at this point, some people say it's starting to get stale, but look how long it took to get stale. It
Yeah.
took like 100 and something years
Yeah.
for this game to get stale. A lot of ways, that's how Melee feels. It took like it's gonna take like that long for this game to get stale because there's so many combinations, so many ideas, so many little things you can do. Just like one little thing can change it. Like it's crazy. So
Hmm.
um, I have, I think with, I'm very glad that Melee has no patches because it allows us to keep changing this meta instead of having the developers change the meta. Um, we're super fortunate for that because if you watch Ultimate, a lot of times Nintendo is always patching the game,
Yeah, yeah.
and the meta gets to develop for like a solid like 3 months, and then there's a patch, and then they restart the meta, and like you don't get to go deep into those ideas and continue to explore those ideas because you're like, okay, like that's just clearly not going to work anymore because the patch just made it not work.
Hmm.
So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, melee players are they're free. You know, they're free to choose. Like we have no options, no opportunities unless um there's a game breaking update or whatever. I know for a fact that I know Pichu got nerfed in Ultimate and then everyone
Hmm.
started crying about it cuz I know Pichu was so fast and so good. Next thing you know, he became super shitty, you know?
Well, here's the thing about that, right? So Pichu, yeah, like Pichu was like everyone thought it was broken, and it seems broken, and to this day we still when we're thinking about it, yeah, Pichu at that time was broken. But let's say 2006 or 7 Sheik in Melee, we thought it was so broken at the
Mhm.
time, like
Mhm.
super broken. But now we don't think it's broken because we let the meta develop. Maybe if that hadn't gotten patched, Pichu wouldn't have seemed broken in like 3 years. But we patched it, so we'll never know,
Mhm. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Which is, you know, unfortunate cuz the developers always think that they know best. I was playing Valorant
Yeah.
yesterday and um whoever's developing Valorant, whoever's in charge of that needs to quit their job as soon as possible. Dog shit company, dog shit developers. I don't care. I don't care what people have to say.
All right, what do you what did you not like? What happened?
Dude, so it was just this one instance, right? You know how Reyna kind of overheals,
Yeah.
right? So there's no possible way. So I was the only kill, right? Round 16. Basically,
Uh-huh.
we're getting stomped, right? Round 16, and I hit her 4 times for 160. We traded 160 damage. Like I got 160, she got 160, but she just doesn't die. So that's like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like Valorant is just a game, or like just FPS shooters is. Oh, it gets me tilted thinking
Okay,
about it.
there's two possibilities. Number one, crappy coding, and
Yeah.
then she just didn't die. Number two, maybe you wall banged her and then she got healed by like a sage.
No, there was no
No, no
sage.
sage. All right, then
No
it's just crappy
sage.
coding, man.
No sage
Crappy
and
coding.
no overheal because I was the only one that died to her that round. And we traded the same amount of damage. She didn't die either, and it didn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it's just crappy coding. Like she should have. Maybe she actually only got hit by 140, but like they registered something different. Like maybe it was on the pixel of a body
Oh
shot
my
versus an arm
god,
shot,
bro.
and like it registered different, but in the game
Oh
it
my
didn't.
god.
Yeah, I don't know.
So speaking about Valorant and different games, right? Are there
Yeah.
any other games that you're like heavily invested in right now?
Um, you know what's funny is I had basically not played Valorant for a while, and I just started playing it again yesterday. I did my rankings. So like when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, I played Counter-Strike Source, and I was like playing ESCA, which is kind of like an amateur
Hmm.
Counter-Strike back then. But after like 7th or 8th grade, I quit the game and I didn't really play anymore. But Valorant came out, or I played CS:GO a little in like high school, but barely. And then Valorant came out. And I was like, oh, like this is the new big game. I'm gonna try it, and it's very similar to Counter Strike, so I'm like, okay, let me play it. And I love Counter Strike. I don't know
Hmm.
why I really quit it. I just ended up quitting it. Um, and I decided to play it for a bit, and I dedicated not that much time to it, but I dedicated quite a bit of time. I got to like Diamond, and then I guess I kind of just was like, eh, like I need to play melee. I'm playing too much time into
Yeah,
Valorant
yeah,
and not melee. So every hour I was playing Valorant, I was like, I could be getting better at melee. So
yeah.
it kind of ate at me a little. I just but I still enjoy Valorant a lot. I just made my placements. I got placed to plat 2. So I don't know.
Well,
Maybe I'll play a little more.
that's better than I will ever do, ever. I cannot climb out of gold for the life of me. Um,
I already told you in your stream one time why. Dude, you're just sitting there like a COD player, flicking left and right. That's how you play this game, dude. Seriously, all the aim in this game, like there obviously there's aim, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
90% of it is just knowing exactly where they're gonna peek and just putting your crosshair there and just pressing click,
yeah.
right? Like you're sitting there like putting your cursor in the middle of the screen to touch every angle and then flicking left, flicking right. I'm like, dude, I can't believe you're getting those flicks.
Yeah, the thing is though, right? Like that it works. Low key works in this lower elo, right? Cuz
Yeah, because they don't headshot you.
yeah, they don't headshot me. So, as long as I'm using an operator, as long as I'm using a sniper, I literally just shot them as I flick. So, um it's pretty easy to do that in this lower elo, you know?
Yeah, but this game is like 90% your brain and not your aim.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's about like sitting there, reading their movements, you know, putting your crosshair in the right spot, like kind of map awareness and awareness of where people could be rotating.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's where it comes from. Like aim is you definitely need aim, you need to be able to headshot and stuff, but like you can outplay people and get to diamond with terrible aim, like
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
terrible aim. So
I mean, yeah, if you're boosted, but I mean, you sound like a pro just talking about it. Um
nah, I'm not a pro. I I played it. I played amateur Counter Strike, which is not pro, and then Valorant. I'm like a diamond player, so it's just like no.
I mean, Diamond, bro. Like you're doing things to me, man. You're about to make me act up. Listen to you be Diamond. But that's gonna be the end for today's Tenacity Talks. Hope you guys enjoyed the first episode. Unfortunately, some of the stream overlay stuff was cucked, so you can't see the donations. But towards the end of these Tenacity Talks, we're gonna be doing quick shout outs to people who have followed and donated. Um, there's kind of a long list. So Crispy DZN, thanks for following. Izkey, thanks for following. Truly Native, Kevy D33, Flames RL, Mochi Lee, Icky Sticky, Kuniyar, Owen 6, Clay Zig, Lampy 88, Hydraulics, Terrible OG, Hash, Prince Edric. Thanks so much for following the channel, guys. We really appreciate it. Make sure to turn on your notifications. Also, for the people who had donated, Hash, thanks for donating. Owen, Lampy, and Chef Wesley, thanks so much for donating. Appreciate you guys for supporting the stream, supporting the team, and most importantly, supporting Albert here. Albert, do you have any other
Appreciate it.
closing remarks?
Yeah, I really like these podcasts. I love that, you know, we're gonna have a lot of content and tenacity going in the future. Like I think we're gonna talk about it soon,
Mm-hmm.
and I just love that we're doing this, and I love that we get to talk. And I'm excited for like future guests that we'll have on this show.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some interesting guests here and teaser, we're gonna get Mango. No, I'm joking.